Hello, friends and family. A little something I wanted to put together here, and again, I feel like this is probably a deeper dive than let's call it 98% of people would be really wanting to go into something like this. But I don't know, for my grandson's sake, hey SJ, I don't know, and maybe just for anyone who's been kind of toying with the ideas, I thought I would throw out what I've been doing. And this is specifically about a league that I joined. Let me see. Well, this would have been now. I have been through 2 full seasons, including now 3 full rookie drafts. So this team was put together before I ever became involved, and then I adopted it. Typically in a dynasty league, it's what they call an orphan team. And somebody, I don't even remember who, asked me to come in, probably from a football league, and hey, would I be willing to take over this team? So let me just kind of give you a rundown here real quick. This is how big these rosters are. I mean, it is a huge roster if you see what's going on here. There's a eight spot taxi squad. And if you're familiar with my taxi squad football video, it's pretty much the same concept. I will say they have set it up now in this league, though, to where there's no like real deadline on your taxi squad. So you can actually, as long as you've got younger players, you can move people in and out of this taxi squad thing throughout the season. So if you take them out, you can actually put someone else in. Whereas in football, that's not always the case. But 8 taxi squad spots. Look at the injured reserve. Looks like I think there's 8 there also. Yeah, 8 injured reserve spots. Just the bench, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 spots on the bench. And then I think there's 12 starting lineup spots. So this is, I actually thought when I joined this, I thought all dynasty basketball leagues were like this. That's actually not the case. This one's pretty big, considering. So when I took this over, there were 12 starters, pretty much. But I can pretty much tell you there were probably only about 6 players on the bench. And then there were, I think, 0 players, if I remember right, in IR. And I think there were 0 players on taxi. So out of all these, 8, 16, 31, out of these 43 spots, this person had filled maybe like 18 of them. And it had basically been, Orphan is right, it was basically left for dead. On the steps of the fire station, if you will, and someone asked me to come in and take it over. So the first thing I did, and I remember this well, I got to do the rookie draft of that year. And in fact, what we can do is we can go look at what I did in that rookie draft. So let's look at draft results, and let's see here if we can change the year, because I thought we could. Okay, it took me a second to figure that out. But this is the draft board from the first draft that I got to participate in. So I actually thought I had got to do the one previous to this one, but as I went back and looked, no, that was still the other guy. So the first pick I ever made for this team, and you can notice, so let me see, this team before I took over finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, okay? From the bottom, not 6 from the top. And this is, by the way, a 14 team league. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's a 14 team league. And this team finished 6th from the bottom prior to me taking over. Okay. So I made my first pick at 1-6 was Walker, Jarris Walker. And I got to say, after now, this would again been, we're about to complete our 3rd draft that I've been involved in. So 2 years ago, Jarris Walker to this point has not panned out. And we'll talk about him in just a minute. But I want you to notice, by the way, here, I distinctly remember when I was going to make this pick, Jarris Walker, I was torn between him and Derek Lively, the center for Dallas. And that becomes relevant later when I talk about my roster. But there was definitely a time where I really wasn't sure, where to go here, and I went with Walker, and so far it has not panned out. Notice here, Victor Wembanyama. I would have loved to have had the first pick. Victor is one of my favorite players, and to date, and I'm in now a couple of leagues, I never can get him, and he's been hurt, by the way. So, this will be his second year as of the date of this video. I can tell you some of these other guys here picked ahead of Walker have not necessarily panned out so well either. Henderson's been hurt a little bit, but I got to tell you, this Thompson here for Houston, I do remember, had he been available here, I would have picked him. But he was gone, and he's been a stud. He's been awesome. But as you kind of go through some of these names here, it doesn't really look like I would have been able to do a ton better. I can definitely tell you this going into this season, as of this second, I have not done it yet, but Whitehead here, my second round pick from that year, probably going to get cut. I don't see any future there, and I think he's probably done. My third round pick, Sasser, I am keeping him. This year will be his last eligible year for my taxi squad, and I definitely intend to go into the season with him on my taxi squad. I think there's still something there. And it's hard in this league to get third round picks to pan out. So if he ever works out to even just a bench player, that's going to be a win. That's for sure. I would also just throw out real quick, notice this second round pick over here, Podzinski. He also is going to come into play later when we talk about my roster. But just as I'm kind of looking at this, I don't really see a whole lot of names that just jump off the page at me, other than Thompson up here and Wembanyama. Those are pretty much going to be your studs. And there's a lot of role players here, and there's guys that score points and stuff. But it's really, really hard in this league to rebuild. So I thought I would just go real quick to last year's draft. So I'm going to go to 2024. I got to go back to, this is called Midnight Society NBA 2024 draft results. So this season, after the season I took over, you'll notice we finished one spot worse. So we had the fifth pick. And by the way, in some leagues, they'll do like a lottery among the poor teams, and you have a shot at getting the number one team pick, even if you weren't the worst team. Not the case here. Your pick pretty much just based on your it's just based on your record and your standing at the end. I might point out, actually, so at the end of the first season, there's a little consolation bracket, and I needed the practice, so I kept churning through the consolation bracket, and I won it after my first season in the league. After this last season, when I didn't win it, they decided to give the consolation bracket winner an extra draft pick. I wish they'd have done that a year sooner, because I would have got an extra draft pick. But you'll notice in last year's draft, I picked Clegane. Definitely going to pan out, at least at this point. It definitely appears so. I have noticed in this league, big men are hard to come by. So I definitely loved picking Clegane in this first spot here. I would point out, by the way, Kay Ware down here, I don't have him. So there's not really any roster reason to point him out. But I still believe in that guy. I think, and in fact, when I was trying to decide who to pick, it was kind of there. I wasn't thinking about Holland, and I wasn't necessarily thinking about any of these guys here. So I would have loved to have had Castle, but I knew he wasn't going to fall to me. Riceacre probably I would have picked had he fallen to me, but he didn't, and that's okay. And it also appears I'm always picking behind this guy, which is something else we can talk about. But as we're looking across here, there's several names I think that are probably gonna pan out at some point. This guy didn't get to play at all last year, Topic, and I think he's gonna get some minutes this year finally. So So anyway, yeah, as you're looking here, I do like Connect a little bit. Um, and I do think actually Ron Holland will probably be pretty good too. I think almost always in these drafts, the person picked after my pick is someone that I definitely was considering. So I'm on the right track at least. I thought I would just point out this year's draft. We're about done with this year's draft. I think I am done. I don't really think there's really much else for me to do. And notice where we finished after last year, third from the bottom. So this team has been getting worse and worse since I got a hold of it. I can tell you that last year was in a lot of cases due to injury, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But this year, I was actually asked by the guy at the, you'll notice here this scarecrow, the guy at the 1-4 messaged me and said, hey, can I move up one spot? And I can just tell you now, my philosophy on that is typically almost always yes, especially if your team sucks. You need to accumulate assets, and then if you improve your team enough, you can use those assets to make a run. You can make trades and at the deadline and get markedly better in a short amount of time and make a run through the playoffs. So I ended up gaining this 2-4 pick just to move back one spot. And he picked Ace Bailey, which is the guy I would have probably picked. But I will tell you, I ended up with Edgecombe in this spot. Notice it says Coach Dye. And I'm pretty happy with him. I did not see a whole lot of difference between these two guys. And if you're going to give me an extra pick, then I'll take the second guy. And I didn't know who he was going to take when he took Ace Bailey. So, 20 years down from the line, someone might be looking at me like an idiot. Depends on how these guys pan out. But I grabbed Edgecombe, and I'm totally okay with that. So then we got through the rest of the first round there, which took forever. We came back around, and then I ended up with a foreign-born player. And any player that plays for Miami, I think, is probably a good investment. They do some really good stuff in Miami. I like the way they develop players. I like their business approach. And so, yeah, you give me this guy, and I'll take him. I also had this pick, this McNeely pick, and this guy messaged me and asked me would I let him trade into the second round. We'll talk about what I got for that trade, but it was an offer I could not refuse. And I will tell you, this McNeely guy, he ended up picking him pretty early. He was on my radar. So, almost always the person after me picks the player I would have taken had I not taken the one I did. Same thing up here. Ibib took Canoopel. He would have been the one I took if I didn't take Edgecombe. So I'm always right in the right ballpark there. So as a result of trading out of here, out of this 4 that I got for trading one spot back in the first round, I ended up with Paul George, who we'll talk about in a minute. I ended up with Bojan Bogdanovic, I think is his name. And I also ended up with this third round pick over here, this 3.9. And we'll talk about that guy here in just a second. So international player playing for Miami. I really, really thought this was probably a good spot to pick him. We got all the way through the second round. And you'll notice we still have 4 picks left here before we're done. This guy's been sitting here for frickin' ever. This guy sat there forever. It's amazing. So it came back around to me, and this was where I had a decision to make. I almost took this Watkins guy here. But I will tell you, if you'll notice these colors, I got an orange, I got a pink, and I got a blue. I needed to diversify a little bit. And if I could get a blue, I needed to do it. So I went ahead and grabbed Renaud. And then I put this guy, Watkins, at the top of my queue because I saw in most cases he doesn't go until much, much, much later. And as you'll see, I basically got my guy at that 3.9. I got Watkins. Again, 20 years from now, you're probably listening to this saying, who the heck was the Washington Wizards guy named Watkins? Maybe he's a stud. I can tell you this. I try not to just go off of the ADP based upon the platform. Then you're pretty much just putting yourself in everybody else's shoes. I do use it, though, to kind of gauge, can I wait on a player or can I not? And so, for example, this guy taking McNeely, he took him way early. I had him on my queue. In fact, I can tell you now, if this McNeely guy is here, which is probably closer to where he should have gone, I end up with him instead of Renaud. But that's why that guy traded up. He knew there were several people looking for him. So for whatever it's worth. So I have gotten my 4 players here from our draft. I don't think I'm going to trade into any of these spots. I think these guys have been sitting here waiting on trade offers, and I'll just tell you now, when I took the Jakushis here, I have no idea really how to say his name. I tried to kind of offer some people to trade back again. I would have traded back in the second and maybe even picked up another third if I could have. But no one was interested, and there haven't really been any trades really since I made the trades to move around where I did. So this one here. So this guy Scarecrow, he was trying to get rid of some of these, and he couldn't get any takers. So he ended up with taking all 3 of these guys. Notice how he also diversified. So let's go jump at my roster. I want to take a look at it. This team started with Steph Curry was their cornerstone player. Okay, and what I've noticed real quick was I needed to unload any aging superstar for youth and picks. And so I unloaded Curry. I unloaded, I think I had, it wasn't Kawhi Leonard, but it was the other guy whose name sounds kind of the same. And now I can't think of it. But I traded off a lot. In hindsight, I have not really regretted a whole lot of those trades. I accumulated a lot of assets going into last season. And then what I did was, toward the trade deadline, I traded some of those assets for some youth rather than picks. So if you look at my starting lineup right now, remember Podziemski? When I traded Curry, I told the guy, I said, if I'll do a deal for Curry, but Podziemski has to be a part of it. I want the young guy that theoretically could take over some of the scoring load for when Curry does finally call it quits, and that probably is going to be that guy. So I ended up, that was part of the Curry deal. Part of those assets, I picked up White. He got thrown on a trade block, and I jumped. I said, what do you want for him? And I had a ton of picks, and I traded him. And what I tried to do with the picks, I tried to keep mine because I knew my team sucked and that they would be good picks, and trade off the extra ones that I had accumulated, from other deals and stuff like that. We didn't look at Carrington, but notice here on Carrington, I drafted him with pick 112, and that was last year. So there's another draft we didn't look at, but this was one of my extra assets from last year, and I picked up Bub Carrington, and he's going to be pretty good. So I think I did pretty good with that pick. That is for sure. This was Dosunmu was acquired in a trade. Kuminga was acquired in a trade. Aaron Gordon is like the grizzled veteran of this squad. I've had him on some trade blocks. I don't ever really get any offers for him, and I don't know why, because he's a good player. And he may be the guy I just have to ride off into the sunset with. I don't know if anyone's ever going to trade for him, but really do like him. I would point out here Hauser. Notice he's in my starting lineup right now, and we're right before the start of the season at this moment. I picked up this guy off of waivers on October 22nd, 2023, and he has been riding my bench. Sometimes I kind of stream him in there depending on injuries and stuff like that. He is set to excel this year. Jason Tatum's out, and I just feel like I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this Hauser guy to have an opportunity, and I think he's going to get it this year. I'll check back in later and let you know if I was right. Sexton I acquired in a trade. Here's Clegane, who I told you I picked a couple of years ago. And then I traded for Lively. So I remembered thinking when I took Jarris Walker, I really kind of wanted Lively too. And so I bided my time and I waited. And then when I made a trade, I said, hey, can you throw in Lively? And they said yes, and I couldn't believe it. So I have 2 very young centers. And remember, I told you centers are hard to come by in this league. I picked up Jackson in a trade. I don't remember exactly which trade it was, but he was another young guy. And I notice he's my flex, but he's also a center. And notice Kada. And this is a guy who I have just shuffled around often. I picked him up off of waivers March 3rd, 2024. I dropped him back March 16th. Somebody else picked him up, but then they dropped him, and then I picked him up in April of 2025. Pretty much the end of last season. Again, Boston's kind of a mess, and I feel like, you know what, he might get a shot. So, believe it or not, he is right now sitting in a flex spot for me. Dunn, I picked up in a trade. Juzang is my taxi squad warrior. He's been on my taxi squad more than anyone, and he's probably about to get cut this year. There's Paul George. That was the veteran I got in exchange for the second round pick this year. And I can just tell you now, that's an offer I could not refuse. Prince is another guy. I've been waiting for him to pop, and I really hope he will. Hardaway, fading. He's very close to being cut, but I'm probably going to see how he works out in Denver. Duncan Robinson, again, my bench warrior. I start him sometimes. I bench him sometimes. He's now playing in Detroit. Might have a chance to, again, pop. I really hope he does. Here's the Bogdanovich guy that I picked up with Paul George for that second round pick. I got George, Bogdanovich, and a third round just for that 1 second round pick. I feel like there's no way I could have done better. I really don't. And my hope is Paul George does well, stays healthy, and around the trade deadline, depending on where I'm at, I can either grab some other assets to try and make my team better and make a run, or if Paul George is doing well and my team sucks, I can throw him back and get something more than a second round pick for him, is what I hope, for someone else trying to make that run. Coffey's about to be cut. Free agent pickup. Fontecchio just got traded to Miami, and remember what I said? If Miami's interested in you, then I'm kind of interested in you. So that's where that guy is right now, but he's on that close to being cut line. Vanderbilt, I got in a trade for a guy named Green who just got sent to Phoenix from Houston, and if there's a deal I've regretted, it's kind of that one. I wish I had Green instead of Vanderbilt, but I was accumulating assets because I got a few draft picks. I know some people were mad about that trade. They didn't think I asked for enough, and they might be right. I kind of wish I still had Green. Barnes, I got in a trade. Here's Walker. I need him to pop this year. Drummond, aging superstar. Well, not really superstar. Aging center. But he plays behind Joel Embiid, who is always hurt. So I'm probably going to hang on to Drummond, at least maybe for trade bait, if not actually to start sometimes. Picked up Huff at the end of last season, and sure enough, he might be the starting center in Indiana this year. I think I picked him up also because I had Thomas, and I thought, well, if I get them both, then I'll figure it out, and that may work out. Cornette, another Boston guy who I used to just kind of put in and out, and now he is backing up in some way, shape, or form Wembanyama, who also gets hurt. So I think he's worth hanging on to. Olynyk, he was hurt. He was on IR. He's not now. So before the season, I'm going to have to either figure out, am I cutting him or am I putting him in one of these spots up here like Coffee's spot if I cut Coffee. But there's Olynyk. Russell Westbrook is probably, again, the grizzled veteran as well for this team. And he is currently, that actually says Sacramento now, and I don't think I knew he had been signed. So he now has a team, but Westbrook is one of my favorite players, but he is also aging. He will be a bench player. He will just kind of come in and microwave some points and see what pops sometimes. Yang probably going to get cut. He's hurt, and I just don't think there's any point in waiting on him. Highsmith probably going to get cut. Williams probably going to get cut. So there's three guys right there I don't think I'm going to keep. Picked up Joe in a trade. Picked up Suggs in a trade. Here's Ivy, the last draft pick that I did not get to make, and I've had many people try to trade me for him, and I've told them no. He got hurt last year, one of the reasons this team got worse. He is healthy, and I think he might be a superstar. Walker's going to sit on my taxi squad for now. Sasser, like I said before. Whitehead, I think, is going to end up cut. I don't think he's going to go anywhere or do anything. Jackson's probably cut. Reith might be cut. I haven't decided yet. Actually, I probably should rethink that right now, but can't remember what I decided on him. Shannon, one of my draft picks from last year, I'm going to hang on to, probably keep him in Taxi, same with Carter, same with Jurisic. Jurisic, he's 5% owned. I mean, I don't know why he's not better than that. But if I need the Taxi spot, he's probably going to get cut. So you'll notice here some draft picks. So here's my draft for this year. I got Edgecombe. I got Jacunis, something like that. And then here's my Watkins guy at 3.9. I don't know why he's listed first, but he should be below Renaud. And that was my 4 picks this year. After acquiring the team, I distinctly remember going in and putting in for about 12 free agents and loading up Taxi Squad, even IR, and even the bench. Just getting bodies. Played through that season best I could. Traded away some assets. Came back around. Went through the draft. And then I think after that draft, I signed like maybe 6. After this year, I think I might sign something like 3. So I do feel my team's getting better. If they'll just stay healthy, I think we have a shot. Fantasy Dynasty NBA is a grind. It is very difficult, and you've got to show some patience, and you've just got to keep plugging in players, putting them in your lineup. There's an advantage to tanking, and I refuse to do it. I try to win every single week. If I'm in the consolation bracket, I'm going to keep trying to win, whether they're offering an extra draft pick or not. But this team's got some potential this year. I think with Derek White is one of my favorite players, period. And Carrington, one of my favorites, Pajinski. I really love this starting lineup. I don't know. I guess maybe I'll do some check-ins every so often. Maybe around the All-Star break, I'll put another video together, and we'll see. I can tell you there's a guy who won this league 2 straight seasons, and he's looking for the three-peat. I hope in some way, shape, or form I'm able to, if not compete with him, in some way swing some deals that make the league a little more competitive and keep him from winning it again. That's for sure. So I'll be working toward that. I've kind of got my target, my sights set on that guy for sure. If I were to make a prediction, so we finished 3rd from the bottom last year. I kind of think we're going to finish somewhere in the 9 range, like maybe 8-9 range, halfway. If I went 500 with this team, I would consider that a gigantic win. Because then I would literally feel, as young as it is, I could just make my draft picks next year and just keep on keeping on. Maybe try to trade Gordon for some assets. Maybe try to trade Westbrook. I hope he pops wherever he's at. If it is Sacramento and somebody wants him and will give me a draft pick for him. But that's kind of my hope. As far as strategy goes, and I'll just throw this in there real quick. This is the only league I'm in where you do have to set your lineup prior to the game start. And whoever's in your lineup that particular night, you're stuck with whatever points they get. So if you start a guy and he gets 3 points, you're stuck with those 3 points. I'm in some other leagues where you actually can set your lineup, let the games be played, and then decide after the game, do you want to take what that guy did, or do you want to swap him out for someone else who might do better? And those are interesting. I find those to be more interesting than this one because they're called lock-in, and you can lock in the points. So I'll put a scrub in sometimes. If no one else is playing that night, I can put a scrub in. And if he just pops and I see he scored 30, and I look at all the projections of all my guys, even the good guys, and none of them are projected to score 30, I'll lock in the points from the scrub. So really curious to see how that goes. But anyway, that is my Oklahoma Outlaw team. I stole the logo from the USFL, and I put myself in there representing Oklahoma, even though I'm in Colorado. If you guys want to follow along on this, like I said, I'll try to post an update every so often. If you want an update, let me know. All right. You guys stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you again.